toy.
We're wanted men.
I have spoken. Welcome to episode 264 of the Smugglers Galaxy Podcast. It is I. Let's see. There it goes.
Anyways, welcome to the Smugglers Galaxy Podcast. It is I, Jason. Glenn is having an epic time at Epic Universe. So hopefully he's having fun down there and nothing bad happens. But that doesn't mean you miss out this week. We got a very special guest joining me, Mr. David Quinn of Star Wars Prototypes and Production, the podcast, everyone's favorite.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
So welcome.
Thank you. And Jason, I want to say I love you and Glenn. I love what you guys do for Smugglers Galaxy. I know you love compliments, but I've enjoyed just getting to know you over the past maybe 5 years, and it's been a real blessing. And to be a co-host, guest co-host on right now is a lot of fun. I was looking forward to this.
Good. You can just hang out. You don't have to write
Yeah.
8,000 words. You don't have to compose music because you compose music for yours, right?
I do. I do actually. Yeah. A lot of those pieces that you hear under when I speak, or I call them either micro interludes or transition pieces. And yeah, so I try to write every one.
Do you just play keyboard and guitar?
For that, I usually I have a full scale digital piano, so it looks like a real piano. And then I work off Logic, which is a program, so I'm able to record things like bass and drums, and the keyboard becomes every instrument. But I can play guitar as well too. So
It's so cool. I envy people who could play instruments. It's the one thing I tried to do was play guitar, and I just never got past the callus on the fingers.
oh, it takes a while. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too much of a sissy. I like my soft fingers.
Well, it's funny. I was for a long time I was writing music and writing songs, and then I shifted toward collecting. And in the time that I did, I started to play guitar less and less. And now my calluses are gone. So I was playing recently, and I could really feel it in the fingers.
Dang. Well, thank you. And the elephant in the room is the giant banners behind you. So if you're listening online, I apologize, but David is sitting in front of a whole bunch of marketing materials that are pretty awesome. And it's my understanding you set it up just for this, which is even more incredible. And it
Just
looks
for
like
this, yeah.
Toys R Us stuff. Is that what the Star Wars behind you is?
Yeah, so this banner directly behind me I believe it's a banner from 2015 when they were promoting The Force Awakens. The one up behind me as well too is I think it's Finn, Rey, and Poe, and that's another banner. This over here is it's one of my favorite pieces that I have for displays, and it's Commander Fox from the Clone Wars, and the date on it is 2008. So it's an early Clone Wars piece, which I love. The one over here was given to me by my good friend Tom Quinn, which is just a real blessing. It was the last meetup that we were at Ross Barr's house in New Jersey before the pandemic hit. And he said, I have something for you I want to share with you. And he had gotten the display, and he had gifted me the header. So I have that. And then here is a gift that was from Mike DeStefano at Seth Miss, and it's the Ahsoka banner. And I really haven't seen many. A friend had it and was, I think, selling it, and I just wanted it so badly. And he surprised me with it. I didn't even know, and I had put it out of my head, and I said, "Oh, I'm not even going to go for it." And then just to have it, it's kind of nice.
That's a cool piece because marketing for Star Wars has kind of dwindled. Like they don't pull out all the stops like they did with The Force Awakens. So an Ahsoka piece in particular is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I never thought I think I have one Clone Wars piece from the actual animated series. And I'm not even sure if Ahsoka's on that one, but finding Ahsoka related memorabilia and display pieces are very difficult because at the time they really weren't advertising her as much or promoting her as much, and it was more Anakin and Obi-Wan and the clones and Yoda. So
And that Clone Wars piece, I mean, it's a full image of, you said Fox,
Commander Fox,
Commander
yes.
Fox. Is that a Walmart piece?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It could be. I really don't know, but
Yeah.
I found it. I found a number of these pieces actually. I think the banners as well too, and I wound up buying an entire grouping of displays, and I think it was maybe like $80 or $90 for everything. But I think I got 5 or 6 banners, and then I got a lot of those store headers. Like I'd say maybe 12 or 13 of the store headers. Everything from maybe Clone Wars, Rebels, Force Awakens, Last Jedi at the time. So that was really exciting for me.
Impressive.
Thank
I
you.
didn't realize you collected store displays.
I don't. I went in. I got into it for a while because I really do like it,
Yeah.
but there is an issue with space, and
Size.
so I actually haven't had this stuff out. I do. I keep the Ahsoka banner and the one that Tom Quinn gave me here, the Rise of Skywalker, in my house. But the other three here, because those banners they're huge and they're also rolled. So I keep them in my storage unit. And I was over there today and I thought it would be a nice backdrop for this conversation.
That's
So
awesome. Thank you for doing all that work to set this up. I just didn't even put makeup on. I just sat down in front of the camera and said, record.
I have to tell you, I was so excited to do this with you, and I just it was really I just see it as a true blessing that we were
Thank
able
you.
to have a chance to hang out, laugh for a little bit, talk Star Wars. So, and I really really thank you and Glenn for inviting me on.
Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. We always love listening to your podcast. It's first thing I listen to either Sunday night or Monday morning whenever you drop them. So it's always
Yeah, it's been
great.
a little more sporadic lately, but I'm getting back into a rhythm with it. So
Yeah, but you're a Star Wars expert, you're a collector expert, and you just take your time and you know you're gonna get quality and I'm gonna learn something usually with your episodes. So it's really one of the best out there. I mean, you actually care, unlike us who just again sit down without makeup and start recording.
you guys, and I know I've said this to you before, but you guys have an absolute magic in your relationship and the way that you guys never speak over one another. You complement each other beautifully, and it makes for a really enjoyable episode. Um, I was thinking about your show today, and I have a handful of favorite episodes, but one of my favorite recently was one that you did with Chris Letty this
Mm,
year,
yeah,
and it was such a joy to listen to. And I was here doing stuff around the house, and it's just so funny. Like I felt like I was in the room with all of you, just talking and connecting. And I came away. I've been friends with Chris for a long time now. We're both Ahsoka fans and
yeah,
collectors,
yeah.
Clone Wars fans as well. And we got to hang out actually this summer in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. It came all the way down from Rhode Island, and it was not Rhode Island. I always do that. He's gonna make fun of me. I always do that. He came, but we got a chance to hang out and chat, and but I felt like I got to know him on a different level through your podcast as well too, and
Good.
I'm so thankful. So
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have Chris on. Hopefully we'll have him on again, and hopefully I get to meet him in person. We've never really crossed paths, so
oh, he's horrible in person. Like
oh
it's
good.
just better. Yeah, better. No video, just straight audio, and yeah, where you can just turn it off anytime you want. I'm
Well, I'm
kidding.
not looking forward
He's
to it
great.
anymore, I promise that. So, but so we were pre-gaming a little bit earlier this afternoon about what we're going to talk about, and we're trying not to be negative and want to rephrase it, and it's more like a critical eye on the news because it's not exciting news. I'll put it that way. The big one for me was Hasbro has increased prices for Black Series and the Vintage Collection by $3. So Black Series is 24.99. It's gone up to 27.99, and Vintage Collection's gone up from 16.99 to 19.99, which is it's kind of frustrating and disappointing because now when I buy figures in the back of my mind, I'm like, five of those will be $100, and it's like, ugh. I was at Jolanta this past weekend, and they had vintage figures
Hmm.
for $100. It was like between 100 and $175. So it's like, do I want the new figures or do I want the old figures? Because it's really not, it's not that much of a stretch. Before, I say before, like 20 years ago when it was $5 a figure at, Targets and Walmarts and stuff. It wasn't that more difficult, I guess, to buy the figures. But now with the price increase, I just worry that more people are going to be turned off and they're going to stop buying figures like they used to. And um, that's my concern, is that it might be the beginning of the end. It might be more of a
Mhm.
niche thing and not such a widespread thing, because I mean, from Clone Wars to now, collectors have diminished and gone their own way and found something else to do.
They really have, and I was shocked to see that now even vintage collection figures are $20 a piece, which is, I believe, where Black Series started in 2013. But I
Yes.
did some digging, and I found out that TVC figures in 2010 were $7.99,
Yep.
and now they're $19.99 a figure. So that's a 150% rise. And just just for fun, I know it's not exactly the same, but I looked up the price of a gallon of milk in 2010,
Mm.
and that was $3.35 on average. And in 2025, it's $4.43. So that's a 30% rise. So
Mm.
if we're talking about inflation, I mean, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I know it's not, a direct comparison, but I just thought that that was really interesting.
Yeah, that is. It makes me think, the first thing that comes to mind is corporate greed. It's like,
Yes.
especially when I hear the CEO talk every once in a while about like pulling levers to save the company. And when he's talking about pulling levers, he's talking
Hmm.
about laying people off. And it's like, that's a bit callous. So, yeah, it's disappointing. And like, I've backed out of Black Series completely, except for a select few. I just got notification that my Dash Rendar Black Series figure is shipped.
Very nice. Congrats.
Thank you. So I'll have him right next to Shizor now.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's about it. I'm picking and choosing, and I'm afraid, like, I complain a lot about clones, but Hasbro loves their clones, and I don't want to be buying the same figure over and over again for $20 if I don't have to.
Jason, could you imagine if you were an army builder of, say, stormtroopers or the clones themselves,
No.
and had to spend $20 for every 3 3/4 inch figure, or now it's $28 for every 6 inch Black Series figure?
Yeah. I think the only reason people might want to upgrade their clones at this point, because if you've been collecting, you've got tons of clones and you really don't need to buy the new stuff. It's just, is the old stuff starting to yellow because some of the plastic they picked back then were cheaper.
Mhm.
So if it's out in front of the sun, if it's just in an environment where it ages faster,
Mhm.
that might be the reason to upgrade your clones. But for the most part, like, I think we're good. And I don't know.
But newer collectors now, I mean, when you think about spending $5, $6 for a figure, all the way back then, it wasn't bad. But now, I mean,
No.
if you're spending $20, there's no more army building. You can't unless you're going to spend the price of for prototypes or for carded vintage figures.
Yeah, and I wonder if Hasbro's pushing too hard on the collector's back and saying, "You guys can do this. It's Star Wars. You'll buy it." And it's like, this might be the point where it's like, no, we're not. It's just too much.
Yeah, it does feel like a last gasp, and I don't necessarily blame Hasbro. I think the bigger issue is Lucasfilm's licensing fee that they have,
Yes.
that they put on Hasbro. I'm sure that that's a really hefty one, and that is what's causing this, is what's part of the cost in here as well too, because Hasbro is making less and less, especially as inflation rises.
Yeah, I can see that being a challenge, but I think the Star Wars, what do you call it, market has kind of shrunk.
Yes.
And I don't know how much Marvel is that licensing fee, but Marvel Legends have increased the same level as Star Wars. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think G.I. Joe is where they make a lot of their money, and they're pushing a lot of Joe stuff because there's no licensing fee.
Right. Right.
But speaking of Joe, they also did this week a gimmick for the first time, which I wonder if this will spread to other things. So they've got their classified, which is essentially 6-inch G.I. Joes,
Mhm.
and they do retros. So it looks like older figures, but they're on like a flat cardback, like Star Wars used to be, like the Kenner stuff.
Mhm.
And what is it, Flint? I think the character's name was Flint. Uh, yeah, it's Flint, retro Flint. Um, 82 select figures will get an exclusive cardback that looks exactly like the original one. So they've changed the
Um,
figure. You know how it's got the fire explosion and they're like running out.
yes.
So he's kind of running, but I guess in the old one he's like holding a gun.
Mhm.
So you're gonna pre-order, you'll get your Flint, and 82 people, the lucky 82 will open up their box and see that they've got this exclusive kind of chase card back. It's the same figure, but it's a gimmick that I've never seen Hasbro do before. And now I'm like, are they gonna start doing something like this in the future
Well,
for
we've
Star
seen
Wars?
sports cards and non-sports cards do this. And I think for a while the sports card market was dead, and then they started to bring in logo patches and autographs and numbered cards as well too. So I think that's maybe what they're trying to do to it seems to me right now, and we might have been talking about this in our last phone call, but the the four main hobbies that were big during the pandemic as far as collectibles were toys, comics, sports cards, and non-sports cards. And we've seen toys and comics diminish as far as interest and value. And then with sports cards and non-sports cards, I mean, they've skyrocketed. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that it's spurred on among young people and older people more of an aspect of gambling. And so I think maybe this is part of it, where it's those chase pieces.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, but chase pieces don't necessarily. That's more for the aftermarket. It's not really for Hasbro. I mean, yes, they might sell out from this Flint figure, and
mhm.
it's not going to sit in their warehouse for a while. But if you're buying that figure for 24 bucks, it's different than someone online on eBay that's suddenly buying this for 2,400 bucks or whatever the case may be. It doesn't really help Hasbro other than just sell out the figure.
Right, which is what they want. That's all they
Where,
care about.
yeah, whereas like Funko, they've started getting to that autograph game where you can buy directly from Funko now an
Mhm.
autograph thing for $200. And so I'm just wondering if this is the company starting to get a little bit more creative to get people back into the hobby. And oh, I've got the exclusive Flint heart cover card back.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's a gimmick, and I think the toy industry needs something new. And it looks like they're starting to reach for other things.
And I think the problem right now is most of what they've been leaning on is fans' connection via nostalgia. So you're buying the Dash Rendar figure because you liked, I believe it was Shadows of the Empire. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So Shadows of the Empire connected with you, and maybe it was that time frame. We also connect with the original trilogy, the
yeah.
prequels, the Clone Wars. So there's a lot that we connect with from that point. I The sad part is what we're seeing appear at discount places like Ross are more of the newer shows, and you see some figures from Andor and from Acolyte and Ahsoka, and
Yeah.
so I think the main problem with a lot of the toys now, especially the newer stuff, is that there isn't a connection to those newer stories and that newer content.
Yep. That's a big deficit there. I mean, if there's nothing resonating with you, you're just gonna say to yourself, "Well, that's okay, but I don't need the action figure. I don't need to have a pirate Brutus on my shelf or Anastasia or whatever on my shelf, Mother Anastasia." Although they haven't done that, they only did that in
Yeah.
retro. But I don't know.
So you said you're not really collecting Black Series anymore. Have you are you collecting less overall, like as far as vintage and vintage
No.
collection and all these other lines? You're still collecting, just not Black Series.
Yeah, if I see it, I like it, I want it, I buy it, as Ariana
Sure,
Grande
sure.
says. Um, yeah, no, it's a problem, but I mean, like, I'm having fun. It's fine, but eventually we're gonna have to downgrade this house and find something else because it's just too big for the two of us. And at that point, I'm seriously gonna have to say, okay, it's time. It's time to figure out what to do. And like I've said before on the show,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get a lot for this stuff. I mean,
yeah,
why bother wasting time to sell it for, $200 right now? It's not gonna get me much.
right,
There's
right.
a there's a billion versions of these figures carded, and it's mostly modern, and there's a billion versions of these figures uncarded, in plastic baggies at these shows. So it's like What's the point?
Yeah, and actually, a lot of the vintage collection and the Black Series figures that I see carded or boxed and carded and loose at toy shows when I attend them here on the East Coast, um, they're going for under what they sold for. So a lot of them are not retaining their value, and the ones that maybe are there for $30 loose or $20 loose are just sitting. When I see them at the same at different shows, I see the same vendors with the same figures over and over again. So
Yeah. Yeah. So good stuff. Yeah. Can't wait for things to change for the better.
I have bad news for you.
Uh-oh.
I don't think anything's changing.
Oh, well, it was
No,
good.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Good while it lasted. Andor was a surprise. So, one year they release Acolyte, the next year they release Andor season two. So, I mean,
Yeah, you never know what we're gonna get, which I like.
at least they're consistent. It's either really not well or it's one of the best things ever made. So it's like it's even in the middle. It's fine.
Right, right. And then just as you start to like something, they either cancel it or that's it. You're never gonna see it again.
Yeah, I was thinking today it would be cool to have some sort of spin-off from the Acolyte where it's just the plot is like four Jedi go out to try to find Plagueis. And that's it. It's a standalone,
Yeah,
it's a sequel, it'll wrap that up, but you don't have to get down in 8 episodes and it's just 2 hours. It's just four Jedi going out trying to hunt down a Plagueis and we'll see what happens.
but see, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one, where I think if you had pitched that, or I look at it like even for your suggestion, I look at it and I say, why didn't they do that instead? Because that sounds much more appealing, especially to the fan base that they have and the fan base that they've had for a while.
Yeah.
After you and I talked, I was thinking about it today, and it just seems like they're trying to get. Somebody said this, I thought was interesting, that they're making content for the audience that they want rather than the one that they have.
Yes.
And I think that is healthy at times, but I think you have to look at your audience and cater to that, say, 70% of your audience that is asking for certain stories or certain characters or have connections that way. Cater to that and then take the other 30%, or take something like you said before with consistency. Make a consistent product, which really should have been Mandalorian, and they just, to wait 2.5 years between chapters 2 and three in the movie is crazy.
Yeah.
But do that and then start to bring in all of these newer elements to grow your audience that way. But keep that between like 10% and 30% until it grows.
Right. That's a good strategy. They should listen to you. You should work for Lucasfilm.
I just became the CEO
Oh,
of
congratulations.
Lucasfilm. So yes.
Congratulations. And
No, so that's
oh, go ahead.
oh no, so that's my latest podcast episode that I released this week. It's essentially I've been Bob and Kathy, as you know, Bob Iger and
Yeah.
Kathy Kennedy. They came to my house and they said they like the podcast and they're making me the CEO. Bad news is I have 3 months to turn the company, to present my idea and to put it all together. And so I took this on as like a fun challenge. I think we talked about it one night on a
Yeah.
Saturday night Zoom chat, and I just kind of ran with it and said, "Is it possible?" We complain a lot, or we discuss this stuff a lot. Is it really possible to turn the company around, or to present something that Lucasfilm can do? And I think it is. I think
Yeah.
it definitely is.
You sat down and you said two words, Clone Wars. And
No,
more.
actually, I said the acolyte.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Didn't.
More
No.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars is a part of it. I tried to use content that had been created in some form already, and I think that that had a little bit of an audience or had a larger, had a following, but maybe wasn't known to the entire fan base, or was presented, say, something like in a video game, and then could be turned into a series or a movie. So.
Well, it's going to be an exciting episode. By the time this episode drops, yours will be live, and I can honestly
Absolutely.
say that was a great listen. I can't wait to hear the next part. Is it a one part or a two part?
It's a one-parter,
One-parter.
but it's one of the most fun episode. Like it's one of the most fun experiences I've had making an episode, and I took a little break for like a month, came back with this one, and I love it. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's what you got to do to keep the passion alive. If you need to take a break, take a break. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
ensures quality, and yeah, if it resonates, then keep going, keep on trucking.
That's the hope.
But I'll just take this one real quickly too. Talking about plot points, there's a rumor
Hmm.
this week about Starfighter and how it's about, and I'm not too concerned about the cameo at the end. That's really not a problem for me. It's just the recycled plot line of, so the rumor is that it's about Ryan Gosling's character taking his nephew across the galaxy to deliver the nephew to a Jedi Academy of some sorts. It's that relationship between the guy that's got to do the job of taking some. It's Mandalorian Grogu all over again. That's my
Hmm.
problem. And it's like, okay, we can do something different. We don't need to keep recycling this plot line or this plot thread over and over again. We can think outside the box a little bit and do something different, if
Yeah,
that's
and
true.
they're making, and you're right, it's very similar because I think they're like they said, Ryan Gosling's character is not a Jedi,
Yeah.
and the boy I believe is force sensitive.
Yeah.
Um, and then the latest rumor is that there is an actress, a famous actress who's going to play maybe the boy's mother, I
Yep.
think.
Yep. Well, it's been
Um, I-
announced. It's Amy Adams,
okay.
right?
Yes. Okay. I didn't know if it had been announced, but
Yeah.
so there's been speculation as to the character that she's playing,
Yeah.
whether we know her, whether she's a new one.
If she's Mara Jade or not. Let's just come out and say it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I never really liked Mara Jade as much as I liked Dash Rendar. I could take it or leave her. Like I enjoyed the Thrawn trilogy, and I mean that's I think great Star Wars storytelling, but it's not like I'm dying on the hill where I need Mara Jade,
No, and George Lucas didn't like Mara Jade.
right? He didn't like a lot of those books.
Yeah, but he was very specific about Mara Jade. He did not like Mara Jade.
Well, he's not here anymore. There's a new
No.
boss in town.
The
So,
interesting thing though is people have been wanting Mara Jade for a while, and it was Mara Jade was one of those characters that it just seemed like Disney was never going to acknowledge, never going to have anything to do with it. And then I was do like a monthly Galactic News Desk episode every month, just rounding up the news. And last year, the Mara Jade lightsaber was sold at the Disney parks, and it was the first time that they had acknowledged her. And I
mhm.
thought, okay, like as soon as I heard that, it just stuck out because they don't usually do that unless they're going to introduce the character, right, into something. Um, and then somebody posted today that Aurebesh, there's an Aurebesh note somewhere on the wall, on one of the walls of Galaxy's Edge. Like I don't know if it's graffiti or whatever, but I think it says like Mara Jade lives or something to that effect.
Really?
So
Hmm.
yeah, again, I don't, I just saw that before we started chatting, so I don't know how true it is, but it was posted, with the Aurebesh translation. So
Well, let's just go down this speculation. Let's go down the speculation station a little bit here. Choo choo, get on board.
you need a
So,
speculation station little zinger there
a
too,
little
like a
tag,
little
yeah. Whoop
yeah.
whoop, speculation station. Whoop whoop. So I mean, if they're gonna put Mara Jade and she's got a son, they're gonna follow old canon and make this son the son of Luke Skywalker and
Mm.
completely not completely undo because it did happen, but not undermine. Take the spotlight away from Rey and put it on this boy that might be a Skywalker. Because the rumor is
Yeah.
at the end of the movie, they drop this kid off who might be Luke Skywalker's son and Mara Jade's son and drop him off to Rey.
It may not even be at the end. I mean, it might be at some point within the movie itself where Rey has to protect him, or there is a potential connection there.
That kind of excites me. I like Rey, and to see more Rey would be great, and to see a Rey that's not dressed in the same thing and more self-assured, more Jedi-like would be great. It's just son of a Luke Skywalker. Is that something you think people would want to see? Or are they just going to roll their eyes and be like,
Yeah.
where did that happen?
I think it's somewhat unfair to fans. I think what we had hoped for and what we expected in The Force Awakens and in the rest of the sequel trilogy, we never received. John Boyega came out this past week and he said that, he played Finn. He was the actor who played Finn in The Force Awakens and the rest of the trilogy. And he said that he would have done the entire trilogy differently and he wouldn't have killed off Han, Luke, and Leia. And I think we never got to see them together. We a lot of the major action or the major relationship points, and there's a parallel here to the Ahsoka series. A lot of what happens off screen. Some of the most interesting pieces happen off screen, and then what we get is sort of the residual effect, or the results of that. And in the hands of a good writer, that can become really intriguing. But if we're missing a large chunk of it, that's really important to the story, or really important to the characters, especially if we know these characters. It feels like we're missing something. It feels lacking, or it can feel like poor writing. Um, so I think I think the fact that Luke had some relationship with this woman, if this is true, if this rumor is true, that he had some relationship with this woman, that he did have a son, um, and they might be tying that into Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire story, Mandoverse story, if he's still doing that. If they're not, though, well, and even if they are, um, it almost feels like they're going to again retcon another story to try to try to make what they presented in something like the sequel trilogy more palatable, and more connective. And I just feel like, well, that's what fans wanted. They wanted to see him either married or in a relationship and have a son and have some sort of connection. And instead, we just received this disconnected hermit that we couldn't relate to. Same
Yeah.
guy who threw the lightsaber away, and said to Palpatine, "I'm not going to kill my father," right?
Yeah.
Just out of love. Like, I still believe there's light in him.
Yeah, and it makes you reevaluate Luke Skywalker because now he's kind of like abandoned his son.
Yeah.
If that's his son, I mean, he's a deadbeat at that point. It's like, I don't
Or
want to
maybe
see.
he didn't even know.
He might not have known. That's quite possible. Just like Darth Vader didn't know that he had a son and daughter. So it's
But I
like
think
it's like a poem. It rhymes.
the George Lucas poem. Yes.
Yes, yes, the George Lucas poem.
I feel like, though, if you look at Luke Skywalker's character, and this is the part that bothers me a little bit about it, is if you look at Luke Skywalker's character, they could have taken him and had him learn these lessons from seeing what happened to his father, or from learning about his father, and then to say, "I'm not part of the Jedi Order. I'm not part of this. So I'm going to lean into relationships. I'm going to, you know what I mean?" And then maybe he learned some hard lessons that way. But I just feel like he would try to do things somewhat differently and to lean into the parts of life and relationships that he would care about, as someone who saw the light in his father and tried to, help him toward, bring him toward redemption.
Yeah, missed opportunities.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, but
What are your thoughts on it? How do you feel about, like, what if she were Mara Jade? How would you feel about that?
it's fine. I'm not going to throw tomatoes at the screen. It's fine.
Mhm.
Um, I just wish Lucasfilm kind of had this in gear earlier than they have.
Mhm.
Kind of have to correct and do damage control to what they've told, and course correct, maybe not damage control, course correct in ways that it's
Oh
like,
no, damage control, course correction, and damage control. Yes.
yeah, because the way they left the Skywalker saga was just a mess. So anything that kind of makes me forget, and the last taste in my mouth is Rise of Skywalker, so maybe Starfighter's better, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm back on the Skywalker saga. But like Glenn says, there's other people in the galaxy. We don't have to keep
Mhm.
going back to the Skywalkers.
I do feel. I think I would have been really excited about this if they had a plan that they had communicated early, or if the sequel trilogy led to this or included it. It does feel like it almost feels like they've lost their audience and they're trying to dig back into certain things. My fear is that they're going to use Luke's son, to try to pull the audience back, but then maybe for Mara Jade, they're going to maybe completely reshape her into the character that they want her to be rather than what fans knew, which is fine, but it does feel like they're walking
Yeah.
a tightrope there and have to
Yeah.
be really careful.
It'll be interesting. So we'll see. And Sean Levy, I trust, if he can make essentially a Rock'em Sock'em movie with emotion,
Hmm.
he can really do anything if he really tries. And I think he's got potential of making a really emotional story that's fast paced, that connects with the audience, that, you know, really works. And hopefully it brings people back and they're excited about Star Wars again because I can tell you my
Hmm.
son who's loved The Last Jedi did not care about Andor. He hasn't seen Andor. He hasn't seen The Acolyte. He hasn't seen Skeleton Crew. He's that 20-year-old demographic who kind of will go see a Marvel movie, but eh,
Yeah.
I don't care about Star Wars right now.
I think he's in the vast majority, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I've had arguments, not really arguments, but conversations with people around Star Wars. And a lot of times, if I've said that the movies, the franchise is not connecting with younger people, a lot of times the response I get is, well, my son or my daughter likes it. And it's like, that's fine. But the data shows if you look at the data of people that are watching it as far as which demographics are still watching and the level of viewership, it's diminishing and they're not they're not getting young people.
Yeah. And that's why they're trying to force that younger crowd. They're trying to make content for that younger crowd to get them in because it's going to be like car collectors in 20 years where we start passing away and dies with them. And that's what they're trying
Right.
to fight right now. That's why they have the Young Jedi Adventures, the preschool show on Disney Plus to try to get the younger kids into Star Wars earlier on to carry them through their entire life.
The problem with that though is so Star Wars, in order to connect and connect on a regular basis, they need consistency in storytelling. They really do need an anchor story that fans like you and I, hardcore fans, people who have been longtime fans can still continue along with the franchise. It's like Disney World. You have most of the time it's the grandparents take the parents, take the kids
Yeah,
take their kids,
yeah,
and so I don't think that the majority of the base is being fed that way. Um, and if you're not feeding that base, and if you're just using everything as an experiment to see what sticks for a different audience, that core audience isn't going to stick around because they're like we we get so emotionally connected into it, we get so emotionally involved. Why are we going to sit here and watch something that is when we're being told it's not for you?
yeah.
There's a real disconnect, and I don't know what it is at Lucasfilm. I don't know what's going on.
And the last thing, I don't want to dwell on this too much. We'll find another
Sure.
topic here in a second. But going back to kind of what you're saying, it seems like at Lucasfilm, for a new audience, they have to make something new. It's not like they can do Ewok story because my idea is that you can make a kid's Ewok story. There's older collectors who've like the Ewoks, they'll come back and they'll watch that
Hmm.
younger Ewok thing just because it's Ewoks. And then it's new content for younger generations. And then that'll make them go back to Return of the Jedi and maybe the other two Ewok movies. And so it's like, no, we can't do an Ewok movie. We got to do something completely brand new for a completely new audience.
Hmm.
It's like it could do something else, an Ewok, and resonates with more groups, more age groups, and it might be more successful. So that's the other thing I just don't understand about Lucasfilm. It's like new stuff for new people. You can't do old stuff because that's for old people, which additionally makes the old people feel abandoned by Lucasfilm.
Of course. And then if everything that they produce is an experiment to try to capture an audience that they don't have, the audience that they do have is not going to stick around anymore because it drives me crazy. Like you see content on Netflix, like what is it, the K-pop Demon Hunters,
Yeah, I haven't
right?
watched that
Or
yet.
or something to that effect. I was in my podcast. I've talked about Stranger Things and Wednesday in 2022. They came out right around the time that the Obi-Wan Kenobi series came out. and they completely dwarf the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Yeah.
And so right now, maybe in the past, if you had a big brand name like Marvel or Star Wars, something to that effect, people would stick around and they could, read books and do other stuff. But people today, audiences don't have the same connection and attention span.
Right.
And so if you're not feeding them where they're at, if you're not meeting them and satisfying an audience, they're not going to stick around. And I don't blame them.
Yeah. So get in high gear there, Lucasfilm. Let's get moving there. So
Do
you're
you,
going.
do you,
Oh, go ahead.
no, I just want to know, like, do you have a favorite um, story content from the Disney era so far? So basically from Rebels till Andor.
Yeah, I love all of Andor and I love Rogue One, so much so that we started an event and themed it after Rogue One.
You did?
Yeah, it's a small thing.
Oh,
Not many people have heard about it.
what's the title of it?
I wouldn't waste your time. Rogue Fun, Rogue Fun. But yeah, I mean that's one of them. I did enjoy Obi-Wan. I know it's not perfect, but there's a lot in there that I liked. I thought it had a deep emotional, like I cried the last 40 minutes of that show.
Did you really?
Yeah, the first time I saw it, the Obi-Wan, and I mean Obi-Wan was coming off something big, like as a failure. He
Hmm.
was living as a failure. He was living as a failure of a Jedi. He completely cut himself off from the Force. So, I mean, that's just really sad. And then he was able to come around to it and come past the PTSD, come past his failures and realize that it wasn't just him. There's two people playing that game. There was, Palpatine and Anakin. Anakin
Hmm.
allowed himself to be seduced. So I thought that was emotional. And then the whole thing with Leia at the end, I just thought, I thought it was an elegant way to marry the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy through that scene of Obi-Wan telling Leia about her father and mother, and
Hmm.
kind of explains why Leia might have flashes, maybe through the Force, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that could work.
It,
Sure. I've
it-
never heard that explained like that. That's
I don't know.
interesting.
I just made that up on the spot, but maybe that's what
I
happened.
like it.
Maybe that's how they get away with it. But I thought that was a very emotional scene, and I do want more, but I don't think there's 6 episodes worth of stuff. I think like a special presentation, 1 hour of Obi-Wan
Hmm.
and something trippy, maybe like Filoni. What's the trilogy? The Mortis trilogy?
Mortis, yes, Mortis
Something
trilogy.
trippy like that for an hour with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon would be pretty fun, but
Hmm.
I don't know. That's a long way of saying those movies. I did like Force Awakens. I did like The Last Jedi. I like
Hmm.
Solo. I guess I liked a lot of it.
I'm really surprised at how much you enjoy. I mean, it's nice to hear,
Yeah.
that much of the content resonated with you.
Well, we were talking earlier this week about Mandalorian and Grogu, and I was just shocked that people didn't like it, like the trailer. It didn't seem to resonate with them, and they're like, "Oh, more of this."
Because I think it's again, I think it's a Lucasfilm thing. I think there's a lot, and I hate saying this because I do love Lucasfilm, but I think there's a lot wrong at Lucasfilm right now. And I think if you take your flagship, which was The Mandalorian, which worked and probably made a killing for them and drew in the largest audience for them, it got people that didn't care about Star Wars to watch it because
Yeah,
they just wanted Baby Yoda.
yeah,
But the fact that again, there's like a 2.5 year span, of nothing. And then we were getting all of this other content that people weren't interested in. I just feel like by the time this trailer came out, it was like, oh, we have Grogu. We know you love Grogu, so we're going to really put him in a lot of scenes. And people were like, I really liked Grogu back in 2020 and maybe 2021, or 2019, 2020, and oh, we're going to have, and Mando's back and it's kind of funny. And it's like we've seen. I think so. I did an episode last week where I talked about. I reviewed the trailer for it, just watched it, and then spoke about it. And
yeah,
one of the things that really stuck out to me was you have this trailer, and Lucasfilm has not really explained any sort of plot for it. And I'm not somebody who, I don't like for Andor, like I didn't watch any of the trailers or anything like that. I wanted to go in blindly because I knew the quality, right, that we were getting. But with this, it's like, okay, you're bringing it to the big screen. why? Like what's the reason that you can give a Star Wars fan base and audience that we have to pay an extra fee now to see the story that was on Disney Plus that kind of failed its mission in season three, kind of rebooted itself. And do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
just I look at that and I think that's where fans are coming from, where they were like, I think a lot of the thought is if this was 2021 or 2020, I would have been out of my mind. But we're getting this now, and this feels like a money grab.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, maybe a more plot-driven trailer might have kind of counteracted some of those critiques that you had, but
Mhm.
I think Disney's always had bad marketing. Look at Solo. I don't think the turnout for that movie was as big as it should have been. It was a great Star Wars movie.
Mhm.
I think the marketing was horrible, and I think this trailer focused too much on Grogu, and it was kind of like I go back to that SNL skit Goat Boy where he's just like, "Hey, do you remember this?" It's like, "Hey, do you remember Grogu?" Come back to Grogu.
Well, I think a lot of people are like, I moved on from that a while ago. Like I can, that's almost dated back to whatever it was, 2022 or 2023.
Yeah,
Um, I liked the trailer. I liked what I saw in it, and I did not like season three. I felt season three was a mess, and maybe in a way it parallels Solo. That a lot of people felt like The Last Jedi was a failure or a mess, and then we're like, well, yeah, you can promote Solo 6 months. You know, Solo's coming out 6 months after I watched what I, and I'm not saying for myself, but what people thought was, maybe the worst Star Wars movie that they had seen or something that they really didn't like. And I
yeah.
think people were just like, no, I'm going to take a break for a while and actually see how this pans out. So,
Yeah, and I think there's a corporate obligation for season three too, because when you go back and listen to Favreau and Filoni when they first announced the
mhm,
show and talking about their passion for it, Filoni was talking about how he wrote 4 episodes like in Christmas or something like that. He was like, there was a
mhm.
holiday, there was a family gathering, but he was just he was in the zone and he was writing 4 episodes and it all just flowed out. And now it's more of a contractual obligation. We've got this character, we need season three on Disney Plus next year. Get writing. And he's like, oh, let's see what I got to do here.
Yeah, and
It's
maybe
more of a struggle.
I could see that, or I could see that maybe they feel, in the confines of a 2 hour film, they actually have more freedom um, than trying to fill an 8 episode season. I just my concern is just how much of this plan have these guys had, and where are they taking? I think fans are just looking and saying, give me a reason why I should care rather than just dangling Baby Yoda in front of me. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not trying to be negative on the Mandalorian. I actually really enjoyed, especially the first two seasons, and I think that this might be what gets it back on track. But I think Lucasfilm is just they've been just doing such a poor job of communicating to the fan base. And I think as a result, you're going to see maybe less interest in a movie like The Mandalorian.
Hmm. Well, I hope not. I want Star Wars. I want more Star Wars stories, so I hope it works. I'm one of the few, I guess, that's excited. Maybe next time they need to go bigger and stop with the shots that look like you're on the volume.
Yeah, that's another part of it too.
I heard a
Sure.
lot of people saying that it just looked dull and flat, and it's because you've got a literal flat screen behind Mandalorian. So maybe if they
Hmm.
get out, show some of those shots outside in physical sets.
Yeah. Again, though, I think the question for a lot of fans comes back to what makes this worthy of
Yeah,
being on the big screen.
yeah,
Um, a, an interesting parallel to draw for this is the Clone Wars film from 2008. When that came out, that was panned. People were not happy with the quality of it, or they were not happy with the storytelling. It was geared more toward children. But I believe that was 3 or 4 episodes of the Clone Wars series, um, where they first met Ahsoka, and Lucas just liked it so much on the big screen that he was like, "I'm going to take these episodes, put them together, and that will be a movie, and that will be the best promotion we have to get people to watch the show in October because that came out in
yeah,
August."
yeah. Marketing tool.
Yeah,
And that's not what Star Wars is. It's not a marketing tool, it's a storytelling tool. And if you kind of push that marketing aspect of things, people see through it and it just doesn't seem authentic and it doesn't resonate. Although that was also a change in storytelling, the Clone Wars, and it took them a while. It took them a season to kind of figure out what they were telling. Once you get towards the end of the first season, it really kicks into high gear. But
I I think I'm one of the few people who really like season one.
oh, really?
Yeah, because they that the Plo Koon arc, and there's an early arc where I believe Ahsoka sends her troopers in to battle, and she loses a number of troopers. And I think at the time she's probably 14 years old. So she is devastated by it, and I think it's Anakin and Plo Koon who actually kind of help kind of guide her through this, and actually teach her lessons, or have her take positive lessons from this to strengthen her. I always like that. I think there's some good content in season one.
Oh, good. See,
Yeah.
you are to season one of Clone Wars as I am to Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie trailer. I can't say the
Well,
movie.
I'm with you. I'm with you on the trailer. Like I enjoyed it. I thought it looks good. I just the reaction that I saw overall um, gave me pause, and it just made me look at it and say, well, where is the disconnect?
Well, did you see the leak Celebration Japan trailer?
I did.
What did you think of that?
That's where he's fighting inside of the AT-AT, right?
Yeah, it's an AT-AT.
Sure, sure. So when he's inside the AT-AT, like that's the 1980s kid in me.
Yeah,
When he, okay, I'll say AT-AT. But when
it's an
he's in the
AT-AT.
vehicle, when he's in the AT-AT, I thought it was such a thrilling. I wish they had shown that as a teaser, because I thought that was really a thrilling scene, a thrilling shot. But again, it looks great. It's just the question that most fans have has not been answered, and that's,
Yeah,
why are you bringing this to the big screen? What's the point and the purpose of this? Why are we getting this 3 years later,
yeah.
almost?
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. Hopefully, it's a good thing. So you go down to Delaware this weekend. Is that for a toy show?
it is. There is it's the Delaware Toy Show. It happens twice a year. There's the April Fool's one in April, and then there's the Oktoberfest one in October. And I've been going there since 2017. I actually went there for the first time, I believe, um, the week before I went to my first celebration, which was Celebration Orlando in 2017 in April.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had one of the best lessons or experiences by going there. I went with my friend Pete LaRose, who is a collector and a vendor at shows around this area, and incredibly knowledgeable, great friend. And he introduced me to some of his friends, and two of them were Rich Delgatti and Mike Mensinger. And I knew Mike's name from collecting, and it was one of the best experiences because I had been listening to podcasts and getting to know all these collectors through that, but I didn't know them. And standing around in a circle, I realized, oh, okay, going to Orlando for the first time, like I know all these people, but these people are not going to know me, and they're not going to be speaking with me. I'm
Hmm.
going to be kind of on the outside, of these circles. And it helped because I think it gave me a reality check before I went down there. And I went in with a different attitude, instead of, I tried to kind of temper my excitement a little bit. And I
Hmm.
wound up meeting so many people, and it wound up being so rewarding. So Delaware show's great though. Like a VFW hall essentially. It's the
Okay.
uh, it might be a police athletic league center. I'm not sure, but it's a little spot. It has an auditorium, up on like a stage. Oh, I'm sorry, it's an auditorium with a stage, and then there's an area where they sell, where people can sell up there, and then it's the rest of the hall essentially. And then they have a room. And I think this is really smart. They have a room off to the side that is for vendors who are selling maybe there for the first time. So that's how they bring vendors into that room. And so it takes a room that maybe people might overlook, and it makes it really interesting because you never know who's going to be there for the first time.
That's interesting. A room separate just for new vendors.
Yeah, they're just using the space that way, which is great.
Are you searching for anything? Are you selling anything? What's your goals? Do you have any goals?
So I'm I've been building up a war chest for the last year. Um, I think you and I have spoken where I've just, you know, I'm not collecting as much now, and
Yeah.
I'm going for pieces that I have runs already established, and I'm trying to add to those runs, or trying to obtain pieces that I've always wanted, or that I really like. And so I'm actually setting up with Pete, and
Hmm.
and just bringing some stuff that I no longer have a connection to, or is it no longer fits into my focus. I'm really narrowing my focus mainly to carded figures and modern Star Wars prototypes. So so I'm going to bring some stuff as well. You know, hopefully move that stuff on. I've been doing that this year, and it's been really great. I actually met a lot of great people through that, made some nice connections that way. Um, and I'm just going to continue doing that and just building up the war chest. So
Awesome. And then any other episodes planned down the line? Anything you can tease, or is it just spur of the moment, whatever you're passionate about in the moment, you just write?
it's a mix of both. It's if something catches me, and it becomes one of those topics that I just can't stop thinking about and want to explore that way.
Yeah.
And then but I did mention in the last episode I did that I'm trying to change up a little bit, because for a while I was doing it was a lot of heavy research, and I would hit Sunday night, press press publish, and then go into it and go like, oh my gosh, now it's time to plan next week's episode.
Hmm.
And but one of the things that I really right now there's when we've spoken about this, I think many collectors have talked about this in chats as well too. It's Star Wars is in a little bit of a lull, I mean, to say the least. And I think I've been trying to figure out where are the really bright spots. Where are the spots that if this is something I'm doing in my life, like that I can look back and really, you know, have enjoyed during that time, and then look back fondly on the moments. And it's things like this
Yeah.
conversation that we're having and connecting. So I want to do more of that, and I want to introduce more collectors to people who are, looking to get to know other collectors as well too, and just to hear people's life stories and how they became collectors and why they collect and what they love about it. So.
Yeah. We love having people on just for those reasons to learn a little bit more about them. And it's easier to go into podcast mode and have a conversation than it is to go to a meetup and try to corner someone for 45 minutes. Tell me your life story. It's like, it's a little
Very
creepy,
difficult. Yeah.
a little bit different.
Usually it's the meetups are for, just getting to kind of break through that curtain and just get to know somebody, and then, go into it with the next meetup or in-person meals and phone calls and things like that. And friendships, really hardcore, deep friendships have developed as a
Yeah.
result of this silly hobby of, plastic and cardboard.
All across the globe. And it's just kind of amazing how this hobby has done that.
Yeah, it really is. What's
Yeah.
your what's your favorite part of because you're involved in so many things right now, and I love that, and I think you bring just like a heart and a soul to a collecting community that a lot of times leads towards the transactional, right? And I've said this on my podcast. I did like 3 episodes on my podcast about the Rogue Fun experience, and then I had spoken to you, Glenn, and Orion in a two-parter, and it's still, I mean, it's one of my favorite experiences of all time. Like even beyond Star Wars, like it was just one of the best. Like buy a ticket if you haven't purchased a ticket, buy a ticket for the next one because it is honestly like I'm still buzzing from it. But what's your what's your favorite part about collecting, the community, the hobby, and just being a part of this on like a daily basis?
I think it's connecting people. I think that's my favorite part is seeing people connect and then go to another event and then they're connecting because they've already got that shorthand. It's like, oh, hey, how
Mhm.
have you been? It's not like, hey, I am this and this is what I collect. And, that's all done. And it's just like when these people come together and start to create those relationships, it's really the most important thing. It's not the collectibles. It's not about I have this Luke Skywalker because you can't take that stuff with you. It's the impressions that you make with people along the way that are the most valuable and the most important to me. And so when I see that happening in the community, it just, yeah, brings me peace. I did enough. I've
Yeah.
done enough, kind of thing.
And you certainly have. I mean, I look at the ripple effect
Yep.
from Rogue Fun and just the connections that have been made, and now how people are participating in the hobby in ways that maybe they wouldn't have if they didn't travel down to Georgia and meet somebody and have that, and have that person introduce them to somebody else, and then have, these adventures over the past year. So I love
Yeah,
it.
the way I say it, they have shared hobbies, so there's a good chance that they would have, like you were saying, they could have met along the way further down the road, but because they came to Rogue Fun, they met earlier, and so they were able to have a longer lasting relationship. So that's the thing that really resonates with me. Not resonates. That's the thing that really I think is rewarding about the hobby.
Well, and I'm glad it does resonate with you. And I think as a result, you lean into that, and you try to continually, do that and to connect people.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people could have met at a toy show or at a convention or something like that. But I think what you, Narayan, and Glenn had put together, and with the rest of the crew, it was the thing I loved about it was collecting was a big part of it, but it was so easy to, and I was thinking about this whole week. Like that was such an event to connect with people. I remember being at Orion's house and just literally going from person to person, and not knowing who I was going to speak with next, but and just connecting with every single person I ran into. And it
Hmm.
was so easy,
Hmm.
and I came away feeling like I had just gained a whole group of friends, and
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for that.
It's great. And to see someone like Jerry get up there and do his thing, and now he's writing for the blog, the Star Wars Collectors Archive blog.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just great to see my friends succeed and do well. It makes
Yeah,
me happy.
it's a ripple effect, and a lot of times the example that you put out there shows people, a path or the way to do so, and I think that's so important. I think I'm glad that that's what you love about it, because and it shows. But I think that's really the most special part. And you're right, it's not the toys, it's not the stuff that's behind me.
No,
It's not.
it's the creativity too. I mean, I don't we've gone an hour, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But we were talking earlier. I was
As long
reading.
as you want.
Okay, good. We were reading Roger Christian's book, and he was just talking about how he got a bunch of airline junk and started throwing things together. And I mean, that's something I love to do is to print stuff out and try to figure out how to make it work and connect it and paint it and explore different disciplines of 3D printing and painting and the artistry and fabrics and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that excites me too, the creativity involved with Star Wars.
Did you make the blue snaggletooth um, head behind you? Did you print that?
I printed that. Yeah, I haven't gotten to sculpting, which is something I want to do, but
Hmm.
someone made that, so I 3D printed that, and then I did the
That's incredible.
hair, and yeah, it looks legit. So I try to say that with modesty. I don't know if I'm coming off as arrogant, but it does look really good.
No, and I think that's one of the nice things again about our community like this. Like you said, there is such an incredible creativity in the swag that's produced, in
Mhm.
the aspects of an event, and in the sound and live production, right, that our friends do as well, and just in the details. We collectors appreciate that, and the fact that you made that, and that's essentially like a life size or near life size example of a beloved character from Star Wars. Yeah, like you nailed it. That's something we get to celebrate, which is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So, how about you? You're the guest on the show. You shouldn't be interviewing me. What
I'm
what do you what do
sorry.
you enjoy about the hobby? I
I've
mean,
had to, yeah.
go ahead.
No, no, what were you gonna say?
No, let's talk about the podcast for a minute because you are educating people and you're putting a spotlight on them. And there's people that I would never have met because they're local and they don't travel much, and that I get to know a little bit on your podcast. So, I mean, what do you enjoy most about the hobby, and how has the podcast helped you build a better community?
I think I came into the hobby because Star Wars. I received my first Star Wars figure in March of 1982. I believe it was like March 14th, even like down to that. That's one of my first memories is being in that aisle and
Oh,
getting a Darth Vader and a Luke Skywalker figure, and not even knowing what the movie is or anything like that, but just falling in love with these figures and
yeah.
having them be the perfect size. Um, and so Star Wars has always been with me. And a lot of it is tied to my family. A lot of it is tied to how I've seen the world, or how I view the world, and creativity and imagination. It was Disney World before I really got to go to Disney World in that way.
Hmm.
But our hobby is very interesting because we're collectors. We're dealing with all types of people. Fascinating, and everyone has a story. Everyone has their own interests within the Star Wars world, within collecting, and then outside of Star Wars. I love hearing those stories and connecting with people. But a lot of it too is transactional, and there's it's almost a path, where you can kind of it's a fork, where you can go one way or the other. And I've really, even just with collecting too, like I've tried to look at it and to say, what's the heart and soul that that's there? Why do I love this, and how do I stay on that path, and what makes it special, and then how can I contribute? And I think you and I share that in common, where
Yeah.
one of the answers to that for us was to do a podcast, and just to be a voice within the community, to be somebody who educates, who discusses the latest news. I mean, I learned so much from you and Glenn, and I think it's nice that you guys do it together, because you do ask relevant questions and you do bring up really interesting topics that I can't tell you. I mean, there's so many times where I'll, on a Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon or something like that, I'll see that you guys had put out an episode on a topic that I'm dying to talk about with somebody, or I'm dying to
Hmm.
dive into. I love that. So
It's good to
I think
hear.
leaning into that the healthier stuff, and the more connective stuff, and really testing and saying, okay, there's this transactional world out there, and that's nice in pieces. It's nice to visit, but there's so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I have a little show and tell if you're interested. I don't know if
Yes,
that's
yes. Let's see
yeah.
that. You had mentioned that. I thought maybe it was the stuff behind you that was the show and tell.
No, so I just the podcast is called Prototype Star Wars Prototypes in Production. But I just I fell in love with collecting prototypes back in 2016, 2017, and I've started to I realized like I could never build a Kenner prototype collection the way that I wanted to, but I was able to get a few pieces, and I tried to bring in a few characters, some of which I think are relevant to now. So we were talking about Luke, and so this is, I'll pull him back a little bit. So this is a 6-inch Black Series first shot of Luke Bespin, and it's the only one I've ever seen. I think it's pretty interesting because he has a pink head, and a lot of times, um, a lot of the figures, if they had a tracking number on the head, that head is pulled and it's replaced with one. But I know that this is the real head. But it's also interesting because it has on the back, you could see where the color had started to shift to pink. And I think that's essentially what
Hmm.
happened with this head. So he still has his blaster and a lightsaber. It's the first and only one I've ever seen. And
Wow.
Luke is my favorite.
That's
Um,
awesome. That's Bespin look?
that
Yeah,
that's Luke in his
Bespin.
Bespin gear. And I really, Black Series, I think, offers some of the best, if not the best, sculpts. And I think they just did a phenomenal job with it. And I love seeing these unpainted figures like this, where you can see Luke in a little bit of a different light.
Hmm.
And so he has a red torso, red hands, pink head, gray arms, gray limbs, and then and a red blaster. So,
The crazy thing is that kind of looks like it could be a uniform. It's not like it's out of place. It could be like a Star Wars uniform in Rise of Skywalker or
yeah.
something. So,
Yeah, it's a cool design, and
yeah,
again, just red growing up was my favorite color, and Luke was my favorite character and favorite action figure.
that's wonderful.
This is another quick Luke, and this is from the Power of the Force 2 collection. It's the Farm Boy Luke,
I
and
love the neon green. That's so 90s.
neon green, and
Not
then he
neon
also
green, sorry,
has
orange. Orange.
oh, okay, yeah, neon orange feet, and
Yep.
the neon green Kelly green, I guess,
Yep.
tunic, the bottom of the tunic, and he's in purple. Again, I love the colors. I have this in a bag, but his rifle and his
That's so
hat, his
cool.
floppy hat. So um, this one's kind of cool. It's become one of my favorites, and I don't know why, but I'm a big fan of Rebels, and I've been trying to collect the Rebels crew. But one of the pieces that I got, so this is the Rebels C-3PO,
Hmm.
and that's the actual production figure, and he has a silver leg. And then I was able to get a hard copy for it. So a hard copy is made of resin. They were often used essentially. They were painted and used on display. They were used in photography, and they were also used to create the steel molds back when it wasn't done digitally. And so, but I don't know why I used to walk around if I was talking on the phone and I would just hold this figure. I love the construct of it, and it's one of the few hard copies I've seen for Rebels. So it's a um, nice little one. Uh, I have two more really fast if you have a sec.
Yeah,
This
all the
is
time.
So, in talking about The Mandalorian, there was a character who popped up in The Mandalorian that I think we all got pretty excited about. And so I actually have the other pieces to this, but I just thought that this would be kind of cool. So this is a hand-painted hard copy of a Man, and this is the Power of the Force, a Man.
Yeah.
He also Again, I have it in a bag, but he came with his skeleton, which is hand painted, and the detail on this is phenomenal. So, um, his other arm is somewhere over here, but
That's
it's the
awesome.
only one that I've ever seen. I think it's the only hard copy of a Man that's ever turned up for the Power of the Jedi line, and this is I think 2000 somewhere around there.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds right.
yeah. So the only thing I don't have for it, Jason, and I'm really sorry to say this, is
It's the monkey lizard.
yes, is the monkey
Salacious.
lizard.
The one
And then
that's the one with the hand on the hip, kind of giving attitude.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the very sassy Salacious.
Yes. He was repacked with Ula.
Yes.
Yep.
And this is the last one. So this one actually came from a very interesting story. So it was, I think, in 2021 or early 2022. We're part of a group called the Prototype Exchange on Facebook, and somebody had posted saying that a friend had these pieces and they were selling them and wanted to know the values. And people started writing in and were saying, okay, well, this is probably a first shot or a sample, and this would be worth this much. And I realized very quickly that some of them were not first shots. They were not plastic figures. They were actually resin hard copies, and but they looked like production figures because they were so beautiful. And so this is an Anakin Skywalker from the Clone Wars. If I can get that, um, but it's a hand painted Anakin Skywalker, and it's one of the nicest ones I've ever seen. And we weren't even sure if this was legitimately real. And then there was a note that went with it because the artist who took the photographs for it in France was gifted a group of these prototypes. And we had a former Hasbro employee verify that. So I'm a huge Clone Wars fan, and this is just it's nice to see something that where so much time was put into making a figure like this. And I'm trying to get the head too so you can see it. It's kind of hard, but like the details on his face are just incredible, and
Yeah.
it's reminiscent of the Anakin that we all knew from the series. So
That is pretty awesome. Thank you
I
for
just want
sharing.
just a little show and tell. So
Thank you for sharing. There was at one point someone who kind of popped up on one of the Micro Machine groups and posted a
Mhm.
photo of a bunch of episode one prototypes. And his story was that after Galoob left the building, after Hasbro bought them out, the cleaning crew went in and just grabbed a bunch of stuff. And it was a bunch of,
Scoop them.
yeah, but he kind of disappeared right after that.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
he had the one
Oh,
post
God.
and he never said anything after that. But it was cool to see all these prototypes in one
Hmm.
place. There's just a bunch of vehicles, and that's one of the things that I want is a Micro Machine vehicle prototype.
That's good to know. Okay. Well, I will keep an eye out for you because
Thanks.
again, I go to toy shows, I talk to different collectors, and that's one of my favorite things. Like you said, you like to have people connect together,
Yeah,
friends connect with other friends.
yeah,
And I love going to a show and finding something really special for somebody. So if I could ever find one, If I ever get any sort of Galoob lead, I'll let you know. That would be cool.
I would greatly appreciate it. Anything Galoob, but I've got tons of Action Fleet and I've got a play set. I've got a lot of minifigures from Micro Machines, but
Mhm.
I have one Boba Fett slave one of that painted silver in a baggie. So they didn't come in baggies, and I was told that
Wow.
this is a paint sample, but there's really no way that screams paint sample other than the story that I got. So
Sure, sure.
it's a little bit shinier. They kind of did a black wash on that silver stuff in the
Hmm.
Galoob line, but yeah, so we'll see. I'm always looking for that.
And that's something that when you get into prototype collecting, a lot of that, it's who you get these pieces from, the source, the provenance, and then also the stories that go with it. So a lot of times for us, and it's kind of silly, but if there is a figure and that figure is in a sealed bag, or a tape sealed bag or something like that, that means so much to us because we know that there's a story attached to it or it's part of the process.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's
Um,
your favorite piece in your collection?
it would have to
I've
be
been
the
dying to
hard.
ask you that.
Yeah, it would have to be the hard copy of the Emperor's Royal Guard. For some reason, I have distinct memories of walking out of a
Hmm.
Miami service merchandise with that box and going home and playing with it. So I don't know why I have of all those vehicles that playset seems to just pop
Yeah.
out the most. But yeah, I really enjoy having it, and it was my first big prototype. And there are some considerable differences, and so they did make changes, and
Yeah.
so that's my favorite. How about you? Is it?
I'm glad I got to see that one in person, because that was incredible, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
I like. Let's see. There are some pieces that you have that I love, and there's one Force Awakens themed one, that I just really really
well, I didn't
love.
mean my favorite. I meant your favorite. But if you don't want to share your favorite, that's
Oh,
fine.
my favorite. Let's see.
That's fine.
Um, no, I'm trying to think. Oof. I have some that I can't talk about, which I know it's ridiculous, and it's one of those things that I don't like about this. But
Yeah.
there are some that there's some that I have some original art, things like that. That means a
Yeah,
lot.
that's fine. That's fair. I don't,
Yeah, but
you know,
but no. I would say, oh gosh. Okay, no, I know. I have a blue. I'm looking at it right now. It's a blue Ahsoka first shot, and it's the CW44. So
mm,
that would be around the Mortis arc,
yep.
2011. And she came with the light green sabers, unpainted sabers. And it was one that I saw years earlier and just thought I'd never be able to get, and was hunting for it. And then I was just able to get it in the early part of the pandemic when we were on Deal or No Deal, and
Yeah.
it's just one of my favorites. So.
Well, it's good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. I know sometimes collectors are weird about that kind of stuff, but I
And
appreciate you.
I don't like the weirdness. Like that's one thing that I'm trying to like.
Maybe that's a wrong word.
No, 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 because it's not that it's weird. It's that when I came into collecting, when you get to that level of prototypes, which is different from just collecting, say, like the production stuff. When I transitioned to collecting prototypes, a lot of it was, well, I got it from this source, or it has this tracking mark on it or whatever, and so a lot of it was more secret, and it not in a bad way, but it was just it was just the way that the hobby was built,
Yeah.
and so there's part of it, but like I have some of my favorite pieces are first shots of they're 6-inch Black Series first shots that I got from a friend. All three of them have tracking numbers on it, and it's Kylo Ren, Finn, and Rey, and they were the first Black Series first shots I ever bought. And it was one of those things. I was walking around my room talking to a friend on the phone who had offered them to me back in 2017, and I was just like, it seemed like a lot of money at the time, which now isn't, but I was just like, do I go for these? Do I not go for these? And I just remember saying, I don't know if I'll ever see them again. And I love these characters, and I just pulled the trigger, and I'm so glad I did.
Cool. Are you more Black Series? prototype, or do you like if you had your choice about are you going to focus on Black Series, you're going to focus on the 3.75 Clone Wars,
Mm.
that kind of stuff. Which direction, which scale do you go with?
I like the Black Series stuff, and I've tried to limit it to the first 100 figures that were released.
Okay.
Well, I guess like the 2013 and 14 ones in that black and blue box,
Yeah.
black and orange box. And then I really love by 2015, when the movie was coming out, it was really exciting. I was working in Times Square, and Toys R Us was right across the street. And I went over there, and I got to see Steve Sansweet for the Force Friday event that they did. They had stormtroopers dancing. They had taken, I believe they were pieces from Steve's collection, but they had put them in like these museum style cubes around. So they had like the early bird set and stuff. And I met a friend there who has become now a lifelong friend who was working in for Toys R Us. And then they decided to close Toys R Us within like the next few months. And he was like, "Oh man, I need a job. If you ever know of anything that opens." And we had a spot that opened in my department, and I was able to bring him on. Um, which was just really cool because we got to talk Star Wars all the time.
Yeah.
And but so I have a real connection. I got to see. I took my parents to see The Force Awakens. I got to see it with my cousin, who I took when he was in junior high and high school to see the prequels. So we just continued that. So that red and black box, Black Series stuff means a lot to me, especially the Force Awakens stuff. So I do try to collect runs of that. So
Yeah. That's good. I think it's good to have guardrails sometimes when collecting prototypes because there's so much you can collect, so much you can do.
oh yeah.
And that's something I had to figure out during the pandemic is find my voice and my focus because I still have like those Black Series Han Solos. They're great,
Mhm.
but I kind of like the Galoob stuff more now. So, and I have
Yeah.
like
And it
a carded prototype sample of the Jedi Royal Guard, not the Royal Guard, the Jedi Guard from Rebels.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah, it was my first prototype that I bought, but it's like, I don't, it doesn't resonate with me as much anymore.
I remember when you got it, and I just thought that was a fantastic pickup because the figure itself is rare, and then finding a carded one
Yeah,
is even rarer. And I've only ever seen one sample, and it's in your collection.
yeah. That's the reason why I got it is because I didn't have it on my shelf. Like I had all the
Hmm.
other Rebel stuff, but I didn't have that one. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna get it, it might as well be the prototype for it or a prototype for it. So,
And it's nice because so the way that we know it's a sample is sometimes it's stamped with a tracking number on the head, but a lot of times it's just stamped on the back of the card
yep,
in kind of laser etched in gold, and
yep.
it has I think it's usually like a 3 or 4 digit number. And but you have a nice display. You have mirrors in the back, right?
I used to. I don't right now. So
Oh,
I
okay.
probably should do that before Rogue Fun because I gotta get that room in order. Things keep coming in, but I don't do anything with the stuff to get room and stuff. You know what I mean?
What's what's your so I'm assuming that this one is a little easier because you've gone through putting together Rogue Fun last year, which had to be really overwhelming, I'm sure.
Yeah,
What's
when I was listening to your episode, that Thursday night episode, I could just hear the
Mhm.
adrenaline in my voice, and I'm like, oh, that's why I was so exhausted on Monday morning. It's because I was running off of adrenaline when I didn't need to.
I think it probably took you weeks or months to come down from it.
Months, yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, and it's the reason why I didn't put out the episode recaps that I wanted early was because I needed time to step fully away from it because it was more than I had really I think ever experienced in one spot.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's the biggest challenge for you right now with putting a sequel together?
Biggest challenge. Everything
Hmm.
was new this time because we're trying to do
Hmm.
bigger,
Hmm.
trying to have more seats. And so there's a little bit more confidence, like 3D printing all this stuff for decoration. So I'm expanding the decorations, which is pushing me to try to be more realistic in my painting techniques and things like
Hmm.
that. But I'm also trying to infuse some culture into it. So, with the Muppets, that's part of Atlanta culture. We have a puppetry center, and so there's a big section with the Muppets. But that's also like when I was a kid, the Muppets were huge.
Hmm.
And then there's another thing we're trying to work on for Sunday morning, which will infuse maybe more culture if it works out. So it's just trying to increase that scope and try to help people experience the Atlanta culture, I guess, for lack of a better
Hmm.
term right now. So some of that, those are the challenges, and everything seems to be coming together. It's just making sure that people know that it's out there, that it's worth coming to next year. And yeah, marketing, I guess, is the biggest challenge right now. It's a long way to say
That's
marketing.
the Muppets, the Museum of Puppetry Arts. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Center of Puppetry Arts.
The Center of Puppetry Arts. That's something that I wasn't able to do last year because I went on a hike that was led by some idiot. I don't even can't remember his name, Jason something. No, we had this. I had so much fun on the hike with you, and it was nice because we had just met in person for the first time, if, after knowing each other for
Yeah,
4 years or five
yeah.
years. But and you took us on that beautiful hike. But one, I wasn't able to go to the museum or the Center for Puppetry Arts. And it was one of those things where I said to myself, if I ever get back to Georgia, which I had a feeling I would, I thought there would be a sequel. I was like, I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
would like to just visit and just see it. And the fact that you have now um, woven it into the Rogue Fun 2 experience is something I can't even tell you how excited I am.
Yeah, I'm
It's
very
gonna be awesome.
excited. I'm very excited. And when I was talking to Puppetry Arts, they gave me a price and that seemed, it was within our budget. I expected it to be more than our budget. And so I was like, is that per hour? They're like, no, that's for the entire night. I'm like, sold. Sign us up.
Yeah, because we're having is it I don't know what you call it, but like hors d'oeuvres and drinks and just hanging out in the puppetry center.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have some dinner there. It'll be a maybe a late dinner, and
Hmm.
there's a lobby where you can hang out. They had items available from Dark Crystal, the Netflix show, that were
Hmm.
kind of out on display there. And then there's a whole section that was dedicated to Jim Henson and Henson Studios. There was a side room right now. I don't know if it's going to be there, but it was another Muppets experience, but it was like mayhem behind the scenes.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
and so it's kind of like if they found something, like I think there was a tape dispenser that they made to look human in some way. They put
Hmm.
eyes and arms on it. So it was just like some of the backstage stuff that they were doing to just have fun was on display. So I don't know if that's going to be there next year. They might have something else. And then there's a whole cultural section of puppets from the earliest puppets, puppets from Japan, puppets from
Wow.
India. They had a Scar and Mufasa from the Lion King stage show on display.
Hmm.
When I went, they had it on loan until the end of this month, October. Slimer from the latest Ghostbusters.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. That'll be really cool.
And they're posting photos and video of them restoring Globey from the first season of Pee-wee's Playhouse. So there's a lot of great
Yeah.
stuff there, and it's going to be great to mingle. But then also, what I like about the museum is that it's an icebreaker.
Hmm.
So if you see someone you don't know who they are, you can go up and say, "I've always loved Globey. I always loved Pee-wee's Playhouse," and that person might
Hmm.
say, "I did too." And then the next thing you know, the ice is broken, and you're having a conversation, which might be easier than having some reception at someone's house or whatever. Like this just gives people a vehicle to break down the walls and start the conversation.
And
So
most of us have experienced things like Sesame Street and the
yes,
Muppets and
yes,
Fraggle Rock. And so, in the same way that Star Wars is the great unifier for all of us, where, easiest question you could ever have to somebody is, hey, what do you collect?
yeah,
It's the same thing with something like the Center for Puppetry Arts. That's awesome. I can't
yeah.
wait.
And I'll tell you, I've said this before on the podcast, so I'm sorry that people listen frequently, but there was a visceral reaction of seeing Kermit the Frog, the Kermit the Frog, and the Big Bird, and the Bert and Ernie. Like these are the kids, these are things that I saw when I was a kid, and to
Yeah.
see them in there was a little child inside of me that I felt physically like, oh my gosh, it's Kermit. Oh my gosh, it's Fozzie and Gonzo. It's like, yeah, it's pretty special. So I'm excited about that, and I hope everyone has fun and like they can. It's 4 hour long event, and there should be a good. It should be a good night. It'll be fun.
So, again, when I was working in Times Square, I was working across the street from Toys R Us and Good Morning America, right, the ABC building. And one day I was walking to work, and from a distance, I could see that they had set up in the island, where basically the two streets cross in front of where the ball drops. They had a segment, they had a section, and it was a cooking segment, and it was the Swedish Chef, and it was the actual Swedish Chef. And I'm not even kidding. I turned 3 years old in that moment, 5 years old, and I just took off with my bag and everything, and I'm just running as fast as I can over there to see Swedish Chef. And like an idiot child basically. And I looked at that and I said, I'm gonna have a really difficult time at the Center for Puppetry Arts next year, because you're right. Like I can't imagine seeing Bert and Ernie, Big Bird, especially Kermit, seeing those pieces, because those characters were so integral to growing up, to our lives, to the magic of imagination.
Yeah. Daniel Bornheim?
I do.
Yeah,
Yes. Went hiking with him.
Yes. So we're hanging out one night in a hotel room, and someone starts doing the Swedish Chef, and I just felt so bad because he's Swedish, and it's like, I'm sure he gets this all the time, but nobody could really do the Swedish Chef really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I go, that's not the Swedish Chef, and then I do it, and I felt really bad, but he had such a laugh at it. I was like, okay, it was worth it. So yeah. Birdie bird, birdie bird, 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 bird. Birdie put the fish here in the pot. Put the fish here in the pot. So that's my Swedish Chef.
Oh, that's fantastic. You nailed it. You nailed the tone and
Thank you.
everything too. Yes.
Thank you. I think I have like a Frank Oz voice because I can do Miss Piggy and Fozzie and Yoda. So I think my voice, my larynx is similar to Frank Oz.
Well, you can go very nasally and they're very deep, right? Because that's what Frank.
I can go up there. Yeah. So, but thank you again for joining me tonight. This is a blast. We've been talking for like an hour and a half, and it hasn't felt more than 15 minutes, which is great. So, thank you. I appreciate all that you do for our hobby and your friendship and your expertise and all that fun stuff. It's all the effort that you do for your podcast, and you go above and beyond. It's all meaningful relationships, and it's not perfunctory at all. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I want to thank you for just extending the invite. I can't tell you how excited I was to do this. That's why I put this up as well too. I want to just kind of have fun with it. But I would just say to people that listen, like, make sure that if you're able to get out, whether it's to Rogue Fun or your local meetups and stuff like that. Our friendship here formed with Glenn, with Narayan, with you, with so many people from the Georgia group, with so many other collectors. It formed because we love this stuff, and we met up in person, or we met up on Zoom chats, on a Saturday night or during the pandemic. We met up at toy shows and events, and I just think if you're able to come join us and to connect, I'm so thankful that you and I have become friends, and are able to go on this journey together and to do creative and fun things. And I can't wait to see you again at Rogue Fun.
Can't wait. It's going to be fun. It's going to be Rogue Fun.
Absolutely.
I got to do this by memory. And so thank you for coming. And thank you, listener, for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen. It really helps us out and points people to our show. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. I'd love to make you part of our show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Afonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. Thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. People, collect for the love of it. Hashtag vote with your wallet. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.
Oh, it's on me. I normally have Glenn stop the recording. I don't do it.